would you even put yourself in the position to even look at the beginning?
Scissors?
I just did it.
You got a
I
bald spot.
knew you were gonna cut it anyway, bro.
I'm gonna have to cut it a little higher now.
No, you better not, fucker.
I'm gonna have to.
No, dude, I don't want no army.
You're missing a chunk. He grabbed my scissors and made a chunk.
It's not that high.
You can't even see it.
It's not bad. No, don't worry about it.
It's not great. Definitely
Don't go
great.
high, please. I don't want to go.
Don't worry about it.
Just line this.
Don't worry
Trim me
about
up top real nice.
These gloves are fantastic. This was like half the reason why I jumped on the level 3 bus. But all right, today we got a tutorial that really threw me for a ringer, and very difficult hair, super fine and dark on a very light background. So if anybody knows the type of hair I'm talking about, this is a really difficult one, and I almost didn't post this. But I thought it came out pretty fresh, all things considering, and yeah, let's just get started. So we're gonna start this off by using a trimmer that I'm not supposed to talk about yet, and I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be using it yet. But anyhow, I'm just using a trimmer to knock out the line, and I wanna make sure that I do this on both sides all the way around the head. Now, what you're gonna notice is if I bring up this chart, right, I want you to see where we got skin to trimmer, and then we got open taper, closed taper. We're gonna keep going up the line here. But the important thing is we wanna make a very small jump from skin to the trimmer, which means that's why I want my skin, that's why I want my trimmer zero gapped, okay? So if my trimmer is zero gap, that means it's gonna cut as close as possible to skin, which is exactly what we want. So we will be following up underneath this line. Now notice that I'm curving my guidelines. I have a video on the guidelines. It's called skin line positioning, but there's a reason why I'm curving the guidelines. It's to preserve some of the edge and help shape the blend, okay? So I got my Prodigy electric shaver. I'm coming up, and I'm going to stop just a little bit before I hit this trimmer line right here, right? I'm trying to stop just underneath it. Just underneath it. I want to come as close as I can without banging right into it. And the reason for that is simple. I'm not trying to create a harsher line than I need to remove. And if you do, another little move you can use is tapping down with the trimmer, going with the grain. All right. So now on to our next step. We've already begun putting the trimmer in putting the open taper line in. So we're going to put the open taper line in, and I want to actually do this across the whole head about the width of your finger. All right. Now we're gonna jump over to the number 1. Notice that we did skip the half. That's okay. We're gonna skip the half. We're gonna put the number 1 in the open position, and I'm gonna put another guideline in, keeping it about the width of my finger, just treating it like every other guideline. All right. Now because this is fine hair, I skipped another guard and I went to the 2. All right. With the 2, I knew that was gonna handle a lot of my blend, and that's one of the things with fine hair. Sometimes you need to skip steps, see what that does, and then you can come back, okay? So now we're gonna go back with the 1 1/2, and I'm gonna do that open and close, and you're gonna see that I connected that really well. So here we are getting into the skin, into the nitty gritty of the skin line, all right? So let's blow this little space up real quick, all right? What we did was we put it in with the trimmer, right? And I'm gonna explain to you guys what I'm doing. We're just let this run, all right? We put that line in with the trimmer. I'm gonna begin with this closed, and I'm just flicking at it right across the very bottom of that line. And then, because these clippers have the clicks, I'm gonna click it down 1, I'm gonna do the same thing. Essentially, I'm coming up a little bit higher until I hear it hit some hair each time. Now, what you're gonna notice when you get back to open taper, all the way, you've went through all your steps, you're gonna notice that blend is gonna come together. It's gonna start looking really nice, all right? And this is just a sweet, sweet way to do it. But being that I'm using a taper blade, and this taper blade in the closed position, it is not gonna have the ability to get that low. We're probably going to have to go back to the Rebel, which has the fade blade on it. It has the fusion blade on it, and that's gonna allow me to get a little bit lower, all right? So now, the last things we did, whilst I was talking, we put the half guard on because we skipped the half before. We began with it halfway open, and we began knocking out that little last bit of line. And now this is where you're gonna start to struggle, because this is fine hair, so all bets are off. You're gonna have to go where you think you need to go. And me, what I like to do when I'm in this position, when I know that there's still some work to be done here, I need to jump around, but I need to do it in a safe way. So I started with the 1 open, 1 closed. That didn't get what I wanted. I jumped up to the 1 1/2, all right? And little by little, I'm beginning to dial it in. Now, as you can see, we're coming back. I have the fusion blade on. I have the gamma. It's actually green, but it's keyed out right now. It looks kind of cool in black, but anyhow, I have that thing, and I'm doing the exact same process that we did before when we were working over here. When we were working over here on the board, I'm doing the same thing I did before. I'm going to begin with it all the way closed. I'm flicking up at it. I'm going to open it, flick up at it, open it, flick up at it. The most important part of your blend is this area right here, in between the skin and the open taper. That's the part that's really going to make the rest of it look well. As soon as we start getting into the longer lengths, his hair is pretty dark, and it starts to kind of hide our mistakes. It starts to kind of help us. All right. Now we're going to go back with some clipper over comb, some shear over comb, and we're going to just blend that out, and we're going to do the same thing on this left side. Now on this left side, as if this can't get any more, difficult, notice how his hair just juts forward. It just juts forward. That means that I want to be careful. I want to be mindful about how I lift the clipper, and I want to do my best to try to take it into the grain, against the grain on most of my passes here. And that's why I'm already skipping up to the number 2, because I want to get rid of some of this weight. But I know with his hair, his head, it doesn't look good if I clear off too much here. And that's another reason why I'm using that number 2. But I need to find a way to really get that blend done in a short amount of time before we get to the top, because that's that weird growth pattern. And you don't want to be blending into that weird growth pattern. You want to get it done a little bit before that. All right. So sticking with my Saber, one of the reasons why I like working with the Saber, and in fact, in the back, we also used another clipper. We used the Babyliss Low Pros in the back just to add a different, kind of twist to the video. But if you notice, I've been working with these Sabers an awful lot, and these things work really well when it comes to blending and forgiveness. And with this type of hair, that was the thing that I felt like I needed the most, okay? So having a taper blade on here, but also having a motor that doesn't run super fast or just annihilate things, huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, especially when you're going to be jumping around and trying to get this blend done. It's tough. It's tough, all right? So one thing that I have noticed over the course of time of using the Saber and using the Apex, one thing that I have noticed is I really do like the Apex, and I think the Apex probably would have been a better choice for his hair. Because the Saber, when you're flicking, it doesn't really make the hair disappear. It's super forgiving. And I attacked this with a little bit too much weight. And I felt like if I would have used the Saber, if I would have used the Apex, I felt like it would have just annihilated that as I flipped it. That's not always what we want. But upon reflecting after this haircut, I think the Apex probably would have been a better choice for the majority of this haircut. Because this too has a taper blade on it, but it's just got that little bit of boost of more power that I feel like I could have used in this particular situation. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work those steps, the same thing that we talked about before. I began with it closed, and I started flicking into that line. I began opening it slightly. I started flicking into that line, and I'm just kind of listening for it, and I'm going to do the same thing as I move up the head, all the way until I get back into the open position. Now, typically when I put a guard on, I like to start in the open position, set myself a guideline, and then I like to kind of step down like you've seen me do on the channel about 1,000,000 times, so I won't go into it too much. But this is just one of those things where you're going to need time to fight with this. You're going to need time to go back and forth a little bit, and you're going to make some mistakes throughout this, but eventually, if you keep fighting the good fight, you're going to get this blend, you're going to get it just right. So coming in again with my fade blade, finishing up at the very bottom, you're going to notice that fade blade is the thing that you're really going to need that fade blade at the very bottom. And then I'm using that mysterious trimmer that I'm not allowed to tell you about, but you guys can use a different trimmer, obviously, and you can flick out whatever it is you see there. So now we're going to go back with some shear over comb, because you need to know this, all right? You do need to know this. You need to know when to pull off of the clippers and when to let the shears do the work. Now, I've been doing this for long enough that I know what can be accomplished with the shears, but you may not be. So it never hurts to jump off a little bit early and grab your shears and see what kind of damage you can do. If you got to go back to your clippers, so be it, all right? So we're getting in there with the Low Pro. Now, as you can see, when I do this one side and then the other side type things, I'm just taking crazy swipes across the back. So by the time I get to the back, I'm totally not on par with what's going on the sides. So we're just going to grab the Low Pro. I put it in the closed position. I made myself a nice little guideline. And again, same thing, coming from the bottom, moving to the top. I'm just clicking it open and I'm lifting it up just a little by little coming all the way up. Now, the Low Pro FX that I have, it actually has the original blade on it. I like that blade. I think it's super forgiving, and I think it's a little more powerful than, say, the Saber. So it's just a nice blade, and it's a nice, good power. You know, I think it probably compares better to the Apex. So that's why I use that, and I was actually pretty happy because the back of people's heads, it's just difficult, man. Especially, you know, if they got little dips and hollows, and they almost always do, and it definitely can create some issues. So my best advice is try to keep it longer in some of those areas if you can. And I always try to attack with those longer guards first before I go in there, you know, kind of traipsing in there with one of the shorter ones, you know. So as you can see, I just did that with the 1 1/2. I did it open, did it close, and now I'm chasing back around with the 1. I got the 1 open, 1 closed, and we still got a little bit of work to do there. Looks like the half or the open taper will pretty much get the rest of that out. But yeah, it's just one of those cuts, man, that I almost didn't post. And I'm kind of glad I did because I really felt like it went really well, and I felt like I really did a good job on his haircut. We did cut the top, but we can talk. But if I did cut the top, but I'm not gonna put that in the video because the truth is it would have made it too long. But if you are interested in learning how to cut the top, how I cut the top, this is just super simple, man. I see a lot of people really complicating how to cut the top. It don't have to be that. You guys could check out this video right here and you guys can see. It's just the easiest formula that you could use. I've been using it for like 20 years. I've never had a problem or anybody complaining about the way I do my shear work. All right, beard's looking so fresh. Almost as fresh as his is about to look. So I'm about to line up his beard real quick. Of course, I'm using that Essence razor. That thing is just sick, super heavy. The finger brace on it is super long, and it just makes it a joy to use. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna kind of line him up. Now this is one of them clients too that doesn't want to line up. Like, I'm not in here trying to make it absolutely perfect or absolutely straight. He doesn't wear his hair like that. But what I am trying to do is I'm trying to make it look nice for the way that he wears his hair. So if there's little hairs that are just sort of getting in the way, that's the only thing I'm really lining up. That's the only thing I'm really worrying about. And I'm kind of trying to square off the corners a little bit to make him look like he has a little bit more hair than maybe he does, you know? So that's about it, man. The rest of this cut, you guys can check it out. Let's see how much longer we got. And a lot of times after I'm done with the straight razor, I'll push that hair back out and I'll try to clean up what I can with the trimmers. And when I'm doing them corners, man, I really like to kind of take the shears and help me make it, you know, a little bit sharper of a corner. Sometimes the trimmer is the way to go. Sometimes the shears are the way to go. Most of the time, you know, it's a combination of both for me with certain clients. All right. Now, once we got this edge up looking right, I'm liking it. We're gonna knock out his beard real quick. We're gonna make sure that he looks fresh. And you know, this is kind of funny. This is his first time ever getting enhancements. I told him, you know, let's throw some enhancements in your beard. Let's throw some enhancements just, you know, towards some of the areas of your hair. And he really, really liked it, man. He was really into it. But then he was a little skeptical. He kept saying, oh, someone's going to notice my beard. You know, my beard looks too perfect. But, like, the truth is, if you put them in light, like, nobody's paying that much close attention to your beard. You just look like you have a really sharp-looking beard. And, you know, that's all there is to it. I like using that little backhand stroke. As soon as I'm done, I put that right on the line. You know, get my line as tight and as close as possible so that it lasts, you know, as long as possible for him when he's, you know, when he's working, when he's going home, you know. These guys are going to try to follow your lines. They're not really always very successful at it, but they try to follow your lines and they try to, like, keep up on that. And if they do it quick enough, they probably can. But eventually, you know, they're going to have to come back and see you again when they want that line just perfect, you know. They want that thing iced out. So coming around this cheek here, now we're going to throw in the enhancement here. And this is when he starts looking at it and he's like, look at him side-eyeing it. He's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, that's fresh. He's so skeptical about this. It's so funny, man. Like, if you look, he kept side-eyeing it. You know, when the client's trying his hardest to look, I bet his eyes are getting sore from trying to look. Why you doing that, Brian? What you looking at? You looking at me? I'm looking at you. You guys should listen to some of this audio. He goes, holy shit, dude. But that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope that you guys enjoyed the cut. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you picked up a nugget. And we will be getting into this cut right here in the very next video. We're going to start dropping some tutorials big time. And honestly, man, I'm thinking about going full time on this YouTube thing. I'm thinking about starting to drop like multiple times a week. And big changes are coming. You know, so you're going to want to smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And if you guys need anything in this video, like if you need clippers or whatever, man, hit up my people from Gamma. Use the code Eddie and save 10%. And this rig that you see me using from Slicker, absolutely love this thing. And if you guys want to check it out, the link is in the description for this as well. And you will also get a discount with my code down below. All right, you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.